He had hardly taken his seat when the boy began to enthusiastically tell his mother, "He has such a big horse! That's why I noticed him before you went to the tavern. I can see it through the window, Billy." Whenever she replied to his exciting tales, there was weariness in her voice. He realized, however, that it was not the child that was exhausting her. She lacked the strength to give the child a genuine smile. It was not difficult for him to see that it was nevertheless a deep-rooted desire in her to do so, to give this child a good life. But the storm she had to fight in the process must have crippled her over all this time. As she bent down to pick up blocks for the stove, the wanderer rose and held out his hand to her. "Let me help you." "I can do this very well on my own, stranger." "I can see that, but having a bit of a burden lifted is a nice thing, isn't it? If you don't want to owe it to me, your son has told me about your legendary meal and I certainly wouldn't mind trying it for myself." He thoughtfully reached for the wood she had already loaded onto her arms. When he touched her hand, she dropped the wood. "Mummy!" "What's wrong?" he asked her, although he knew the answer. She was silent, but her hands were trembling. It took about half an hour until the food was ready. Time that the little boy passed with adventurous stories about monstrous dragons, bushes that spat all-consuming fire, leaves, and that had to be conquered with sticks. "You look to me like someone," the wanderer now began, "who could teach them a really nasty lesson." "That's what I did. He put his fists on his hips, and then helped his mother to serve the meal. As he did so, he flatly refused to let the guest help. "If I were a soldier of the consecrated blade, I would stand by King Killian, come what may. No black dragon would come and strike him down, not while I live. Sir Billy of—" He put down the last bowl, which was his, and weighed his head thoughtfully. Of these lands." "Well, it's the king's damn bad luck he hasn't hired you yet, kid," the wanderer retorted, winking at him with a friendly grin, which the boy returned with an enthusiastic smile. There was hot vegetable soup for dinner. Even before he had taken the first spoonful, the steam had risen to his nose and made his mouth water. He himself didn't even notice, but his hostess did. How hastily he spooned, wasting nothing. "It's nice to see that someone likes my food," she said in response. When the child saw this and his gaze bounced from visitor to mother and back, he also began to spoon hastily. Only after he had finished the bowl did the wanderer reply to her. "I can't remember the last time I ate hot, gracious lady." "You need not pretend it tastes good for my sake." "It is much better than anything I have had the pleasure of eating for some time." "It cannot have been much. They would have given you more at the tavern. Meat, above all." "In the tavern they gave me a kick up the backside for a lunarum, and I must say I didn't really get full from it." As he said this, the boy had to laugh, but he quickly proved himself wrong, until the wanderer ruffled his hair with his right hand. "That's all right, little one." "Are you full now?" "Absolutely. Thank you very much." The woman narrowed her gaze. Suspicion faced him. "You are lying." The boy startled. "Thorin doesn't like it when you lie." The wanderer raised his hands in defense. Hey, how would you know?" "You are a perceptive man. When you helped me with the wood, you saw that we didn't have much, and now you lie so that we don't have to share anymore." At first he smiled, impressed, but then that joy quickly succumbed to caution. "Let me tell you, you are not the only one with a keen sense," she added to her previous words. His gaze ran from her to the boy on his right, who was looking at him expectantly. With a kind of weary contemplation he now looked at her and asked, "Who are you?" "They call me Hannelore, but you can also say Hannah." "No, that's not what I meant, You wanted to know what I do for work." The wanderer nodded. "Billy?" She turned to the boy, and when she had his attention, she added, "Can you do me a favor and pick up the parcel from Dorothea?" The boy nodded eagerly and added, "I will hurry, and hopefully you will still be here, Lord." The young man sighed after the lad had gone. "What is it?" the woman inquired. "I told him not to call me that." "Would you prefer Black Wolf?" "How did you know?" She ran her thumb across her left eye. "For paying attention to so many things, you seem to pay surprisingly little attention to yourself." "And you do not strike me as a woman who should let her husband beat her if she shows no fear in the presence of the Black Wolf." "Perhaps there are worse monsters than you, to someone at least." At these words the wanderer grinned wearily. "I would like to think so." "Maybe I'm just numb." At that she pinched her hand. "My feelings, I mean." "Maybe we both are." Bad things are said of you. The Wanderer bowed his head and looked at his hands as he responded. Some of them are true. They say you are a child murderer. The only reason I did not reveal you immediately is because you made my boy smile. He was silent. You have nothing to say to that? Look, if my presence bothers you, I can leave. I don't want to force myself on you. Did you really kill the child? The Wanderer closed his eyes. He buried his right fist in his left hand and clasped it tightly, so tightly that they both trembled. And then, when they were suddenly still, he opened his eyes, looked at her and answered, Yes. The woman immediately realized that he was not joking with her, and the horror could be read from her eyes, as if she had just moved quite a distance away from him in her mind. At first, her following question was just a whisper. Why? Before she collected herself a little again. Why did you do that? Again he was silent, but this time he kept his gaze upright, looked rather tired all of a sudden. Why did you do that? She asked more loudly. She would probably have grabbed him by the shoulders next if Billy hadn't come back through the door. Why are you shouting like that, Mom? He asked, concerned, glancing briefly at the Wanderer. A tired smile quickly settled on her lips and she shook her head. It's nothing, Billy. It's nothing. Even though she tried to weave gentleness into the tone of her voice, one could still notice the trembling anger within her. The boy set the package down on the table and looked at the Wanderer. Little one, surely you know what it's like when you've done something stupid and your mother scolds you for it. Oh yes, but she usually never gets this loud about it. Well, I did something very stupid, you know. That's why she was so upset. What did you do? Before the mother could intervene, the man was already replying. Some things are better learned at a certain age. Always the stupid adult excuse. The Wanderer grinned. Maybe that's because we adults are actually kind of stupid, you know. One can only hope that you will do better. Oh, you can count on that. I'll never be as grumpy and troublesome as a grown-up. He grimaced at that and clenched the fingers of his hands so that they looked like claws of a swamp monster. The mother caught herself smirking at that but quickly put her hand over her mouth. Mom! The child immediately remarked. You were laughing. I saw it clearly. You laughed. You needn't hide it, Mommy. Grinning, she rolled her eyes playfully. Well, okay, I admit it. I laughed. Billy then rushed to her, took her hands in his, and began to dance with her. At first she asked uncertainly what this was all about, but then she let herself be drawn in by her child's joy. The Wanderer put a hand on the table and was about to leave when the door opened once more. He saw a tall and white shadow largely obscuring the light coming in. Immediately a pain shot through the scar on his left eye. That can't be him.